What's up, everyone, and welcome into your 365 Sports Big 12 newsletter, Oklahoma State edition. I'm your host, Alyssa Brandon, getting you all up to date on the Oklahoma State sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball. We got you covered on all the bases. And if you want to get some more content your way in your email, you can go to 365sports.video to sign up for the newsletter, and that will hit your email every Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, let's just get into it. It was a big week for Oklahoma State athletics. Obviously, the 25th coach ever for Oklahoma State football, Eric Morris, was introduced on Monday in a very honestly elaborate sort of press conference. It wasn't your regular press conference in Gallagher-Iba. It was hosted in the Alumni Center. It was standing room only. There was alumni. There was the band. There was balloons. The media got to speak him as well, 2 times rather. So lots of great content. And I would say overall, massive success for Oklahoma State athletics and just the overall OSU brand. Everything that I've heard from sources and people who attended, that everyone enjoyed it and left with a really great impression of Eric Morris. Obviously, you win the press conference, you don't that's not winning the games yet, and we'll see if that translates. But for today's show, instead of kind of just blah 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 explaining to you everything I saw from Eric Morris, what he said, what he didn't say, or UNT players coming, I thought it better just to be for you to hear it from himself. So what I want to do today is just break down the top 10 things you need to know about Eric Morris, and do that in the form of sound bites from what he said. Like I said, he talked in front of the media and the fans, and then we did a little breakout session just with the media. So lots of amazing content. Now, number 1, fit. That is the major word there. Chad Weiberg said it when he first was brought out before Eric Morris, that fit is something that is undeniable and something that you really can't explain at times, just something that you feel. President Hess even mentioned in the mere nanoseconds that he met Eric Morris that he knew immediately that this was the guy, which is interesting considering the fact that in the media it seemed to be a really tight race and lots of names floated around. But basically, Eric Morris talked about how the fit was so perfect for him in Stillwater at Oklahoma State, the small town vibes, everything that Stillwater brings. He says that he gets these opportunities presented to himself when jobs come around, and when he does, he asks himself 2 questions.
As it relates to personal, there perhaps is not a better place than Stillwater, Oklahoma, for me wanting to raise my family right now. And that is something that was, when Chad and I started talking, it was so important to me to get this small town feel and the culture and all the things that my kids will gain from growing up surrounded by a community like yourself, okay? And then also being able to play primetime football on a national level in the best conference there is in America. This is absolutely the most perfect fit for me and my family we could ever think about. So number 1, big check mark on that. Okay, as it relates to the professional, can we win a championship? Okay, and sorry, Chad, but my answer to that is hell yes, we can win a damn championship around here.
Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that is extremely encouraging to see that the fit was so perfect for Eric Morris, especially personally. He seems to be a guy that is really in touch with his personal side and his family side. So the fact that it works so perfectly for him, the fact that he wants to raise his kids here, the fact that his family seems to also want to be here, and it kind of is he mentioned something really cool about it being 6 hours away from his wife's family and then 6 hours away from his family. So they're kind of right in the middle there from Texas to Arkansas. Stillwater was just a really appropriate landing spot for him and kind of almost felt like home before he even got here. So that was really cool. And then the second biggest thing that I took away was that Eric Morris has a hunger to be immersed in the community. I mean, this was kind of unlike any coach I've ever heard before. He kind of just wants to be the regular guy on the sidewalk, it seemed. He said that if you were ever to come up to him, he'd want to hear your story. He said that he wants to know Stillwater as best that he can and just be a regular old guy.
And once you get to be around my family, I mean, we want to embrace ourselves in this community. My kids will be going to Stillwater public schools. It's something we believe in. My father's a public educator, and so we believe in small town people. I've already had people reach out, from the community, from the school system, already trying to help us out and making sure this transition is so seamless for me and my family.
Now, that's something that kind of could be an underrated or underlooked quality in a coach, that he wants to kind of be immersed in the community and really know every face in Stillwater. But I think when it comes down to needing relationships from donors and needing relationships all across the city, and that translating to the players that Oklahoma State gets to put on the field, I think it could be a huge quality that pays off in return for Chad Weiberg and athletics. Number 3 takeaway here, Eric Morris. 3 bright, shining words for him. Stand up guy. I mean, every person that you talk to, and it was just obvious from the moment he started speaking, is that his character, his morals, just the way he carries himself. Chad Weiberg mentioned his humility. He is the kind of guy you would look for your kids to be coached by. I think that's something that Chad mentioned as well. Just his humility and his approach, it's just very obvious that he's a good person. Like I said, is that something that's going to translate into wins on the football field? We will see. But like I said, again, I think it's great for just the donor approval and things like that. And then one really big thing, another thing that's kind of outside of football, obviously a huge family guy. And Morris just choked up to be talking about his wife. He presented her at the beginning of his press conference, and it was really just a sweet moment for everyone to see.
My wife, Maggie, you're my rock, you're my everything. You allow me to chase this crazy dream. And Jack and George, I love you boys.
Now, I know that's not your typical quote from a hard-nosed, tough football coach that you really want to dig in the ground for and go to work for, but I think it says a lot that he was able to be vulnerable in front of that many people, and again, just speaks to just how great of a guy he is, and I know that that will translate to his players and the relationships he builds with them. And speaking of relationships, I think number 4 biggest takeaway is that this man has a massive focus on relationships, and that's a big philosophy to his approach in all of football, and I think it actually translates more onto the field than we think it does. He talked about just how if you have good relationships inside the meeting rooms and just kind of getting to know the guys, they're going to want to go to battle with you on the field. Thought that was really interesting. And he said that at the top of the first 2 weeks, there would be 2 things that would be extremely important to him, and relationships was obviously one of them.
To do that, I think you have to spend a lot of time building relationships on the front end. That way you can coach them really hard on the grass. And so our coaches will be committed on the front end of this thing of building great relationships. And I think you got to build trust with these guys. But at the end of the day, they want to be the best version of themselves. And we want to help them get there. And sometimes that's tough love, even though there's financials that come into play nowadays.
Cool that he brought up his mentors there as well. I mean, going off the list, Lincoln Riley, Cliff Kingsbury, Dana Holgerson, all the guys that he kept bringing up. I think that's music to a lot of Oklahoma State fans' ears if those are all of his mentors and people that he can lean into. I think that's a huge encouragement for the coach he could be in years to come. My next takeaway is that a job in the Big 12 is Eric Morris's dream job, and that was obvious in the way that he talked about it. It was revealed that he had a lot of other offers from different schools, and he always made it kind of apparent to Chad Weiberg that Oklahoma State was kind of at the front of his mind. And he told a really cool story about a Big 12 poster that kind of sat on his wall when he was 11 years old, and seeing that OSU logo, kind of always thinking that he might end up here.
And I just remember always seeing the Oklahoma State sign up there. And then, as the Big 12 grew and it becomes something I was so familiar with, and watching this program and the caliber of athletes and the wins that you guys were able to accomplish, that we were able to accomplish, all the consecutive bowl games and winning bowl games, just so much history, success, watching what Boone Pickens was able to do here and really transform this stadium. I mean, I was reading an article the other day. They ranked this place the number 1 institution and facility for all of college football. Like, how can I not go out and sell that on the road right now?
Now, obviously, him being bought into the conference is a huge aspect of him being able to succeed. So I think that's a great part of him, that this conference is something that he wants to fight for. And I think we'll see production because of that out on the field. The next thing, obviously, it was kind of thrown around in the press conference that he's the quarterback whisperer, and that was his new nickname. And that's been the big just piece that people talk about with Eric Morris, the John Mateers, the Patrick Mahomes, Cam Ward, and Morris even himself threw around those names quite a bit when talking to the media and when talking to the fans. He said that Patrick Mahomes may even come back to Oklahoma State and talk to some of the players, which I think would be awesome to see. But kind of people have been asking him, what is like the secret sauce? Like, what do you see in these quarterbacks, in these 0-star kids, that you see this one quality and you say, hey, this is my guy that can go and be that Patrick Mahomes and turn into that? And he was kind of asked about that, and it appears that it's not done by chance, and there may be a specific metric to his madness.
The one thing that sets all those guys apart is their ability to process information really fast and what's going on in between the brains. And so we have a way that we're able to judge that in the recruiting process. And so if I take a 3-star quarterback, nobody get mad at me. Like, that's all I can say, right? We have a set of qualifications and a kind of a formula that we have to recruit in these guys.
Now, just as he's intentional with that metric with his quarterbacks, he's also obviously very intentional with his offense. He will call the plays for Oklahoma State football going forward. He said that to Larry Reese in the press conference. But I think what a lot of people draw from his mentor being Mike Leach is, oh, this is an air raid style offense. And yes, it is. But it is drastically improved from that, and it's very nuanced from that. And he talked about that a lot when asked what his offensive identity would be. He has a different strategy than what the Mike Leach style air raid offense was, and this is what it is.
So as I started researching, I knew I needed to commit to running the football. I knew that, teams that can run the football win in December, and they win championships. And so when we went to Incarnate Word, we started recruiting tight ends, and we started getting really heavy involved in how to run the football effectively. And so we've kind of been able to mesh those together over the course of the last 6 or 7 years, and think we have a great formula right now for really successful, efficient offense.
Now, he has had successful and efficient offense everywhere he has gone, so I think that formula is working for him. The only question is, will it work in the Big 12? My personal opinion is that I think it will. Could take some time, but we'll see about that. 8th takeaway, kind of a big thing to win over the donors. Eric Morris apparently wants to bring Bedlam back. He wants to see that rivalry again, and he was open to the idea of putting that back into the non-conference schedule, see if we can work out with that school down south. But when that idea got brought up, this was his response.
I'd love to get on the phone with anybody that we know that can help us bring that game back. And if they're asking if Coach Morris welcomes that game, I welcome it with open arms. So with that said, we're going to set up a little Q&A. Go Pokes!
Now, I'm all for that just because of the storylines that'll come with that, just the memories, the nostalgia that will come with that. But the big question, I think, is, does that give Oklahoma State an advantage, or does it give it a disadvantage if they drop that game in non-conference and they're potentially in conversation for the college football playoff? Is that an X against their resume if they lose? I think that could be a problem, but it looks like Chad Barber talked about it after. That's something that they're still talking about, and something that they're just trying to see would work in their schedule. I think OU has a little bit more stipulations on that as well. So we'll just have to see when that schedule comes out. I don't know when that will be. But the next big takeaway, I think, would be that Eric Morris clearly identified where his focus is clearly on now. Obviously, he was juggling 2 jobs. A lot of coaches that we've seen, John Summerall juggling 2 jobs right now. That's kind of been a trend for coaches that have jumped out of that position and then still fighting for a position in the college football playoff. Now, boots on the ground in Stillwater, Eric Morris is here. There was a little bit of question as to if he was going to coach North Texas in their bowl game. They're playing New Mexico State, I believe. If he was to coach in that bowl game, Is he still kind of having his focus on North Texas? Is he still helping them out with just the transition and the recruiting and everything? Or is he totally sole focus here on players, on who are we retaining? Who are we attempting to maybe bargain for in the transfer portal when that opens in January? When he asked about his 2 jobs, this is what he said.
So naturally, I think right now my 100% attention has switched over to the focus of Oklahoma State football, and super important for me to build relationships with our current players right now, and then to go out and hire a great staff. That way we can prepare ourselves for the portal window that's coming up in January. And so it's been nice to finally feel like my feet are on the ground in Stillwater and have one focus, and that's making Oklahoma State football the best it possibly can be.
Again, highly encouraging stuff there that the sole focus is Oklahoma State. I think it was great to see that they were able to bring that signing class together. He threw out too that, hey, don't get mad at me if I throw in a 3-star quarterback. And we did get a 3-star quarterback in Broderick Veers. But obviously it looks like his sole attention is on Oklahoma State. And then going into that, the 10th takeaway I would take away from this is that future looking, he kind of had 2 things on his mind. One was obviously forming the relationships with the players. And then a big question around here has been, what is his staff going to look like? Now, there's a report out there from a national college football reporter that Eric Morris intends to bring his defensive coordinator, Skylar Cassidy, over from UNT to Oklahoma State to be the defensive coordinator in Stillwater. That has not been confirmed by Morris in the athletic department, but Morris did say that things would be coming out in the next couple of days. And he said that he would be honing in on that specific process in the days to come.
Yeah, really good. I mean, a bunch of guys that I trust that have been with me quite a while, and so hopefully the course of the next 2 or 3 days, my life will be consumed with trying to fill out my staff. And there's so many people now in the recruiting department on that side of it, support staff-wise, so those will hopefully be things I can really work through this week. I've had some time to think about it and have some great visions in my head on the way that's all going to line up for me. And so between that and then really it's finals week for our players right now. And so trying to find time the next couple days to get them into the office to start building a relationship with them will be my most 2 important objectives.
Now, I think these things coming to a head, it was obvious to me and I think to others around just there that Eric Morris did win the press conference. I think he's won over this Oklahoma State fan base. The only question is if he can win games now next fall. But overall, the big takeaway is that he's just a guy that has experience winning football. He is a guy that has experience building a program from nothing. He did that at Incarnate Word. He helped North Texas. He helped Washington State. A guy that has great mentors, great leadership in his life, a guy that has great head on his shoulders, and then someone who has a clear offensive identity. I think that is probably the big thing that has been lacking for Oklahoma State football in the past 3 to 4 years is that there's no clear identity on offense. Eric Morris already laid out several points to illustrate that he has a specific plan, he has specific formulas, and you've seen that every stop that he's been at, that same thing kind of come true. So it's very obvious that he's planned, detailed, and ready to go and ready to kind of display that identity on the football field and see if it now works in the Big 12. But yeah, just overall, Eric Morris, new guy in Stillwater, think he did a pretty swell job. And Chad Weiberg and Jim Hess, the president, were very affirming of his position as well. But that I apologize. That about wraps up our talk about Eric Morris. But just wanted to, before we go, give a quick hit on OSU men's basketball. They are 9-0 for the first time since the 2006-2007 season. And coming off a win against Grand Canyon in which they kind of went back and forth. I think trailed at 6 at one point. And this team has continued to be a second half team that pulls through in the second half. But something that Steve Lutz has talked about is that they need drastic improvement on the defensive end. And that was obvious in the Grand Canyon game. Their next game, ironically, as we talked about earlier, is Bedlam. Bedlam is back in the Paycom Center, as well as women's basketball playing Bedlam on Saturday. So that'll be their next matchup. And I think right now they're sitting right outside of the top 25 at number 27. If they're able to beat OU, that could be a huge statement win for them, and I could see them kind of sneaking into that top 25 for sure. So keep our eyes out for OSU men's basketball. But overall, just, I mean, great news for OSU athletics, just kind of overall as a program. Basketball doing great things, and then football looks like it's on the up and up. So, well, that is all I have today for you guys. I'm Alyssa Brandon again from 365 Sports, giving you the Big 12 newsletter for Oklahoma State, and I will catch you next week.